Good evening. The following is a live broadcast for the City of Kingsport Board of Mayor and Aldermen. Board meetings are regularly scheduled on the first and third Tuesdays of each month at 7 p.m. In advance of the BMA meeting, a copy of the agenda is available for inspection at the Kingsport Public Library, City Hall, or online at kingsporttn.gov.
Good evening. Welcome to the Kingsport Board of Mayor and Alderman business meeting. Remind our citizens this is the meeting where we actually deliberate and vote on issues. The day's Tuesday, February 7th. The first order of business will be Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, led by Mr. Ken Weems, Chief of our Planning Department and distinguished military veteran, and be followed by the invocation by Pastor Phil Whittemore from the Bloomingdale Baptist Church. Please stand. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you this evening, Lord, and we are reminded that it is a weighty matter when we gather together and we discuss the health and the welfare, the finances and the future, the education of our friends and our neighbors and, Lord, our families. And so we just pray that you would be with all those this evening who are part of these deliberations, that we would never let them become ordinary or mundane, that you would grant us wisdom as we discuss the things that affect this city, the families in this city, the employees of this city, that you would be with each that is associated with Kingsport, with citizens, with all the different departmental employees, Lord, with the staff, with the elected officials, with our school system, be with each and every one of them. Lord, more than anything, though, we just pray that you would continue to bless us, that we would just come with you with praise and glory and honor, and you would continue to bless us as you always have, because we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Please be seated. Madam Recorder, please call the roll. Here.
Vice Mayor George. Here. Alderman Cooper.
Here.
Alderman Duncan.
Here.
Alderman Montgomery.
Here.
Alderman Alterman.
Here.
Alderman Phillips.
Here. Thank you. All 7 elected officials are present, as well as city manager and appropriate staff. Mr. City Manager.
All right, we have one item on the agenda tonight for recognitions and presentations, and that is a proclamation recognizing February as Black History Month, and Mayor Shaw will be delivering that from the podium.
Well, thank you, Chris. All the members of the board have done proclamations before, and sometimes they can seem a little dry, and maybe they don't always reflect the true spirit of the situation, or the occasion, rather. And if you bear with me, I wanted to just relate one story, because it does have resonance with me personally, and it relates to this proclamation. And that is, I was commissioned officer in May 1975. And if I know Tommy and Paul are close to me in age, they certainly recall that the previous 10 years had been a very tumultuous time in our country's history. We'd gone through integration and Vietnam War protests and riots in cities, and in the Army, we were trying to convert to an all-volunteer Army, and just about 3 weeks before I was actually commissioned, South Vietnam fell. But as I went in the Army, things gradually got better. Yeah, there were a few units that still in the 70s experienced some racial turbulence, but things got better and better. And I was fortunate enough to command a company, a battalion, a brigade, and my senior non-commissioned officers were all black. My first sergeant, when I was company commander, my command sergeant majors in the battalion and the brigade level. And you know, the really good thing about that was it didn't really matter that they were black. What mattered was the Army had recognized them as very talented, dedicated, skilled individuals and put them right where they should be, in leading soldiers and in positions of great responsibility. There are no racists in the foxhole, I can tell you that. And I just feel proud that to live in a nation where we have made progress and we can come together, and it's the most successful racially mixed society in the world, in world history. So without further ado, City of Kingsport proclamation. Whereas the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of the City of Kingsport takes pride in recognizing February 2023 as Black History Month, celebrating the many notable contributions Black Americans have made to our country, and whereas since 1976, every United States president has officially designated the month of February as National Black History Month to honor and affirm the importance of Black history throughout our American experience, and whereas we recognize Black citizens of Kingsport for their many accomplishments and positive contributions to our community, and stand united with them in the finest traditions of the Kingsport spirit, and whereas Black History Month is a time for all Americans to remember the contributions and legacy of those who helped build our nation, fought against prejudice to secure lives of dignity and opportunity for all of our citizens, advance the cause of civil rights for all Americans, and strengthen our families and communities. Now, therefore, I, Patrick W. Shull, Mayor, City of Kingsport, and on behalf of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of the City of Kingsport, do hereby proclaim February 2023 as Black History Month in the City of Kingsport, and encourage all citizens to join me in honoring the many contributions made by Black Americans to our city, state, and nation, signed by me, Patrick W. Shull, with the seal of the Kingsport. And Mr. City Manager, I'm going to ask you to display this in a prominent place in City Hall. Thank you. Please proceed.
All right, our first item is approval of minutes from the work session on January 17th, 2023, and the business meeting on January 17th, 2023. We'd ask that you approve these minutes as submitted, please.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to approve both sets of minutes? So moved. Moved by Alderman Alderman. Is there a second? Second. Second by Alderman Montgomery. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? They pass unanimously, 7-0. Next item.
We have one public hearing on the agenda tonight. That is to conduct the 6-month plan of services update for the Fieldcrest annexation. Ken Weems, our planning manager, will walk us through this. Ken?
Thank you so much, Chris. You can see on the slide here, this is out in the east side of town in the Fall Creek area, as you can see on the vicinity map that we have here. Here's a little bit closer look at it. You know, we annexed it just over about 6 months ago off of Fieldcrest Road and Catawba Lane. As far as the outstanding services, there's water and sewer service, both outstanding. Our plan of services document for this annexation has both of those services being completed within 5 years, and so we have June 2027 as the estimated completion date. The public hearing notice was published on January 23rd. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board has.
Thank you. Board, questions or comments for Mr. Weems? Well, we did absorb this at our work session yesterday. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay. I declared this part of the public hearing to be over. Are there any citizens that wish to comment? If not, then the public hearing's over. We're now entering the comment phase of our meeting. This is where citizens may speak on agenda items. If you'll recall, there were agendas available on the podium as you came in the door. When you come to the podium, please state your name and address and sign the register that is provided. You're encouraged to keep your comments non-personal in nature, and they should be limited to 5 minutes. A total of 30 minutes is allocated for public comment during this part of the agenda. And let me add that there's a part in our agenda later on, after we've done some deliberation, that where citizens can comment on items of general civic interest. Now, that may not be necessarily UT basketball, although I am interested in that, but on, things that affect our community in a material way and relate to our government. Are there any citizens wish to come forward to speak about an agenda item? If not, this part of the proceedings are completed. Mr. City Manager, proceed.
All right, you have an item on first reading for an ordinance, and this is an ordinance for consideration of a budget adjustment ordinance for various funds in fiscal '23. As you read through the executive summary here, you'll notice that it's broken up into several different areas: the general fund, risk management, water and sewer. Sewer and water are basically closing out multiple projects to kind of pave the way for future projects. And then on the general fund side, the most notable item will be the $1.1 million that is coming from the Baby Doe settlement. We are now appropriating those dollars for the drug rehab facility project. This will be on second reading at your next agenda, along with a resolution to send those dollars to the project that we've had quite a bit of discussion about within this room over the last year. So we'd ask that you approve this ordinance, please.
Thank you. I see we have a few visitors in the room. If it looks like we're moving along pretty quickly, let me remind you that prior to this business meeting, we have a session called a work session where we go over the items in more detail. And even before that, the city manager meets with each member of the board individually and goes over the agenda. So by the time we get to the voting, we're pretty familiar with the topics. Mr. Attorney, please publish.
An ordinance to amend various fund budgets for the year ending June 30th, 2023, and to fix the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by the Vice Mayor. Is there a second? Second. Second by Alderman Duncan. Any discussion? This is the first reading. If no discussion, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 7-0. This was a first reading of an ordinance. When we read it for the second time, we have to use a roll call vote. Mr. City Manager.
Next item is consideration of an ordinance amending the zoning code by adding residential use as a permitted use on the second floor or higher floor of a building in a B3 highway-oriented business zone. And this is section 114-195. This comes to you on second and final reading. We'd ask that you approve the ordinance, please.
Thank you. Mr. Attorney, please publish.
An ordinance to amend section 114-195 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Kingsport, Tennessee, and to fix the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve? So moved. Moved by Alderman Phillips. Is there a second? Second. Second by Alderman Alderman. Is there any discussion? If not, Madam Recorder, please take the vote.
Alderman Cooper. Aye. Alderman Duncan.
Aye.
Vice Mayor George.
Aye.
Alderman Montgomery.
Aye.
Alderman Alterman.
Aye.
Alderman Phillips.
Aye.
Mayor Schul.
Aye, the item passes 7-0. Mr. City Manager.
Next item is consideration of a budget adjustment ordinance for various funds in fiscal '23. This is also on second and final reading. We'd ask that you approve the ordinance, please.
Thank you. Mr. Attorney, please publish.
An ordinance to amend various fund budgets for the year ending June 30th, 2023, and to fix the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Alderman Cooper. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Mayor. Any discussion? If not, Madam Recorder, please take the vote.
Alderman Cooper.
Aye.
Alderman Duncan.
Aye.
Vice Mayor George.
Aye.
Alderman Montgomery. Aye. Alderman Alterman.
Aye.
Alderman Phillips.
Aye.
Mayor Schul.
Aye, the item passes 7-0. Mr. City Manager.
Next item is consideration of a resolution awarding the bid for mowing of various locations. This is something we do annually. This is for the mowing of right-of-ways, interchanges, other items that are maintained by our Public Works Division. You'll see the bids listed here, as well as within this packet, the locations for the mowing. And this, again, is an annual thing that we typically do this time of year, so we'd ask that you approve the resolution allowing us to award these contracts.
It might seem like a mundane topic, but we actually had a pretty good discussion about mowing.
We did.
Yeah. Mr. Attorney, please publish.
A resolution awarding the proposal for mowing and trimming services at various locations to Thomas Quality Lawn Care and Klein's Lawn Care, LLC, and authorizing the city manager to execute a purchase order for the same.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Alderman Duncan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by the Vice Mayor. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes 7-0. Mr. City Manager.
Next item is consideration of a resolution awarding the bid for the purchase of various fleet maintenance items. Again, an annual thing that we do about this time every year. We set ourselves up with multiple bidders to purchase items to maintain our fleet. And these will be purchased on an as-needed basis over the course of the year. So we'd ask that you approve this resolution allowing the contract to be awarded for the purchase of these items.
Thank you. Mr. Attorney, please publish.
A resolution awarding the bid for the purchase of various fleet maintenance items to Southern Tire Mart and authorizing the city manager to execute purchase orders for the same.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve? So moved. Moved by Alderman Montgomery. Is there a second? Second. Second by Alderman. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 7-0. Next item.
Next item is consideration of a resolution authorizing the city manager to accept F.L. Smith service contract for repair of wastewater plant centrifuges. This is an item that over the last several months we probably talked a little bit about, or you've seen a memo in the back of the agenda to be spread over the minutes regarding a decision to have these repaired and make sure that they remain operable. The decision was made by staff to go out with an RFP to have a firm on a retainer should we need them. That simply allows for us to expedite things, to get it repaired if necessary, or to do regular maintenance. This RFP or request for proposals will allow us to solidify that with this firm and establish a contract with them. So we'd ask that you approve this resolution, please.
Mr. City Manager, if I remember all our previous conversation, the sludge was kind of building up. We hadn't had any crisis or problem, but it was building up, and now it's flowing along. And
Correct.
okay,
Yep.
we're happy about that.
Yeah.
Mr. Attorney, please publish.
A resolution awarding the proposal for centrifuge repair service to F.L. Smith Incorporated and authorizing the mayor to execute any and all documents necessary and proper to effectuate the purpose of the agreement and this resolution.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by the Alderman Cooper and seconded by the Vice Mayor. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 7-0. Mr. City Manager.
Next item is consideration of a resolution to purchase two F-150 4x4 Super Cab from the Tennessee State contract. The mayor talked about a conversation on mowing last night, and this kind of ties into it. I definitely want to recognize Michael Borders, our Assistant City Manager, and Zach Drodowski, our Park Maintenance Manager. This item, coupled with an item that you'll have a little bit later, kind of are tied together. But the goal for this year is that our parks will be mowed by city staff versus contract labor, which is where we've been in the past. Based upon their evaluation, the purchase of the equipment, the hiring of the employees, based upon the bids and that we've seen this year as well as last year, would save us conservatively $30,000 a year, possibly even more. It also allows us to build up some staff so that during the off-season of mowing, there's other items that those individuals could do in support of the city. This is an item that I think we'll be looking at about this time next year with Public Works as they are evaluating it as well. And it's something that I applaud them for. I think the overall quality, the pride of work, all of that are obvious things that we'll see improve, but this is a good step forward. This item will allow for the purchase of the trucks, which are on a lot, so that's a good thing for us, as well as the mowers, which will be purchased outside of board action. And then you will also, at your next agenda, your next meeting on your agenda, I should say, you'll see an ordinance to authorize those positions, all of which are being paid for with the dollars that we already had budgeted for mowing, and thus allowing us to see the savings as well. So, Mayor, would ask that you approve this resolution for the purchase of these vehicles, please.
You know, I used to work for that crew.
Yeah,
I was 18 then, though.
that's right.
You don't think I could get to my job back, do you?
We're still trying to correct some of those issues.
Don't try to say you're fired.
I used to mow around the Legion Pool while Tommy was swimming. Okay, Mr. Attorney, please publish.
A resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a purchase order to Lonnie Cobb Ford utilizing Tennessee State Contract Number 75347 for 2 Ford F-150 four-wheel drive Super Cab pickup trucks for use by the Park Maintenance Department.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve? So moved. Moved by Alderman Phillips. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Alderman. Any discussion?
One question, you said these are currently on the lot available, so we'll have them here by mowing season.
Correct.
Which starts in, I think you'd said earlier, March 14th.
We keep having days like today, it may start sooner than later, but yes,
Okay.
those trucks are on the lot. That was something that they checked on before going down this path, so yeah, we're in good shape.
Okay.
It's a great question because dealers are still experiencing
Well, I know a lot of
shortages.
this, a lot when we order the specific equipment that we need, we're a year or so out, and I know on some, but I, you said on the lot, so I assume it's a
Yeah.
lot that we would be able to get them here within 30 days.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 7-0. Mr. City Manager.
Next item is consideration of a resolution to approve a memorandum of understanding with the Bays Mountain Park caretaker. Part of the work that is presently being done by our staff here in the city of Kingsport in conjunction with the staff at Bays Mountain Park is kind of an evaluation of operations and some changing of titles as well as duties for some of our staff. One of the things that was noted is that the caretaker cabin, which has historically been occupied by a police officer and which has done an outstanding job for us, based upon the operations that we manage at the park, we need to have someone that is specialized in caretaking, understands what the animals would need in the event of a crisis before we could get staff on there to assist. So this allows us to establish that MOU. It also allows us to be in compliance with state law. And so again, appreciate the work that has been done by a host of folks, particularly Megan Krager, the park manager, and Michael Borders, our assistant manager, for getting this addressed and doing so in a very timely manner. So we'd ask you to approve the resolution to establish the MOU.
Caretaker shouldn't try to pet the bobcats.
Be a top item on the MOU.
Mr. Attorney, please publish.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a memorandum of understanding for the use of the single-family residence at Bays Mountain Park for the Bays Mountain Park caretaker.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve? So moved. Moved by Alderman Montgomery. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Mayor. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes 7-0. Mr. City Manager.
Next item is consideration of a resolution to reject all proposals for mowing of various park locations. This ties into our earlier discussion regarding this matter, and we'd ask that you approve the resolution rejecting these bids.
Bids by contractors that we found to be insufficient.
Yeah, we determined to go to a different path based upon the cost.
I got you. Mr. Attorney, please publish.
A resolution rejecting the proposal for mowing at various park locations submitted during the request for proposals for mowing various locations.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Alderman Duncan. Is there a second? Second. Second by Alderman Alderman. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 7-0. Mr. City Manager.
Next item is consideration of a resolution opposing partisan municipal elections. This is an item that's new to the agenda that the board requested we place on the agenda for tonight. And Mayor, I'll turn that over to you for additional discussion.
Thank you. You know, I was sort of going to hold off on that till I got to the very end, but Mr. Attorney, go ahead and publish.
A resolution opposing partisan municipal elections.
Thank you. And at this time, I'd like to ask the Vice Mayor if she'd like to put this motion on the floor.
So moved.
Thank you. And I would request the city manager record that the remaining 6 members of the board all were seconds on this. So noted. Is there any discussion?
I said, this was brought up last night, and I feel this is something that is important to our city. Our charter was that these were going to be nonpartisan seats. When we have the type of government that we do in the city of Kingsport, I think it has done very well for us to be able to elect individuals based on what they stand for and what they believe in the city without having to do this through what party they represent. And I think it has done really well, and if our citizens wanted to go down a different path, they have that opportunity to present it. By doing it this way, it also is only one election, which is a cost savings for our citizens.
All right, no primary.
And I think that, it has always represented Kingsport well, and I don't see a reason to change it. And so I think that when, we always talk about at the local level and then at the state level that, we like local control. The things that are here, we like to have some say over. And I know in Nashville, they don't appreciate it when things come from Washington that change how they operate. And, I think that that's the same thing here. I mean, if there's an opportunity, if we wanted to change our elections, we have the opportunity to do it. But to have someone else decide how we're going to do them and not let the people of the city of Kingsport choose is something I just feel is a right taken away from us.
Boy, I agree wholeheartedly. Any other members wish to comment?
Well, we had a good discussion on this yesterday.
Yeah.
In the work session, but, I think this board, regardless of what your political stance is or party stance, represents our citizens of Kingsport. And so, and that's the way it should be, and that's the way it's been, in the charter forever, and it's worked quite well for us. So I think this is a good move, at least to show our stance on where our city stands for this and what this board represents. And we represent the city, our citizens in our city, regardless of what the political power may be. We see enough of that on a national level and in the state level. I don't think we need to see that.
The old saying is there's no Democrat or Republican way to fix a pothole. And I think to change our elections to partisan would discourage a lot of civic-minded, engaged, capable citizens from deciding to run. And I don't think we want to deny ourselves the opportunity of the services of capable, honest people.
So the decisions we make at this level are not the same decisions that are made at other levels. I mean, when we talk about what's best for Kingsport, I mean, it's zoning local. I mean, it's whether we're buying equipment.
Right.
It's very local issues.
And they're not social issues.
They're not the same issues that have to be addressed by, I mean, we're not talking about the military where, we're buying salt for the roads instead of, nuclear weapons. I mean, we're on a whole different level of what's close to our hearts and what we believe in. And I think you need to be able to run based on how you see moving your city forward. And it's really not, at this level, it's not about politics. And, I think, Mayor, you've served on the county commission, I've served on the county commission. Some of those decisions are different than what we do here. And it's serving on both. It is a very different feel. And this board, to me, and why I serve here is because I love Kingsport and I want what's best for Kingsport locally. And I don't think we should, if we change that and try to bring more outside politics in, it changes who we are, and that I like to keep it the same.
I'd remind our citizens, the board only selects one employee, and that's the city manager. He hires everybody else. And we don't sit around and ask people their political affiliation. If we're hiring an engineer, we just want somebody who knows about engineering. Or if we're hiring a police officer, we want somebody that's going to make a good police officer. So again, it's worked very well over 100 years, and I don't think you should fix something that ain't broke. Any other discussion? Yes, sir.
I get questions often and it goes like this: how you like serving on the board? And to which I said, I've served some good men and women. I enjoy serving on the board. And then the comment comes after that: you guys seem to work so well together. And so if it's not broke, why are we going to try to fix something that's not broke?
Exactly. You're only taking your cues as a voter from someone's party affiliation. You're not really diving, peeling the onion back, so to speak, to determine are they really going to be a good public servant in terms of decision-making on matters that are relative to a city. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. None opposed, this unanimous 7-0 decision. Mr. City Manager.
All right, we now move into the consent agenda. We have 4 items on the agenda. If you'd like one of these pulled for additional discussion, please let me know. First item is consideration of a resolution to temporarily give management and staff more flexibility to work with utility customers who accumulated delinquent balances during COVID-19 and during our billing delays related to meter replacement. Second item is consideration of a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign an agreement with Tribe Baseball Club of Kingsport for use of athletic facilities. Third item is consideration of a resolution to amend the payment terms for the employee physical wellness contract with MedFit. And the fourth item is consideration of a resolution to consent to subcontract work on behalf of American Traffic Solutions, Inc. Again, if you'd like any of these pulled for additional discussion, be happy to do so. If not, we'd ask that you approve these 4 items as presented.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. Moved by the Vice Mayor. Is there a second? Second by, she beat you, by Alderman Cooper. Are there any members that wish to have one or more items pulled for separate consideration? If not, Madam Recorder, please take the vote.
Alderman Cooper,
Aye to all 4.
Alderman Duncan,
Aye to all.
Vice Mayor George,
Aye to all.
Alderman Montgomery,
Aye to all.
Alderman Alterman,
Aye to all.
Alderman Phillips,
Aye to all.
Mayor Schul.
Aye to all items, therefore, all 4 pass unanimously 7-0. Mr. City Manager.
We move into the communications section of the agenda. There is one item that you will find within your agenda regarding some recent purchases made by the Kingsport Fire Department. This memo that is presented to you all outlines those purchases and what was done necessary to comply with our purchasing guidelines, and so we just simply ask that those be spread across the minutes as a communication to the board. Outside of that, Mayor, I have nothing else to report.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. I'll begin the day with Darrell Duncan.
Well, thank you, Mayor. I've got a few things to.
Like your jacket, by the way.
Pick this out for you, Mayor. Last week, there's a number of us, we had an opportunity to go to a awards ceremony for our Kingsport Police Department. And it was awards and recognitions and promotions for many of our officers. And it was just a great night, along with their families and friends being able to celebrate that night. And so hats off to you, Chief, for having that night and with fellow officers and stuff in mind, too. Also, speaking of the officers, most of us seen the officers that was unshaven through September through, I guess, the first of the year almost. And so they buy into that and pay a certain amount. And there's some other things that they can do that someone can do, wear jeans on certain days or something, I guess, for your office or detectives. But through those efforts, $19,000 was donated and raised and then given back to 2 nonprofits, the Boys Club and Girls Club and Girls Inc. through that. So that is really a good way to kind of secretly raise money in a way, if you will, and then donate it back to the community. Shenanigans, I believe, for Lamplight, I think I'll get the dates here, but I believe that starts this weekend. Angie can confirm this, and it runs through the 26th at Lamplight. And then finally, Judd Teague has announced his retirement. And Judd has served Visit Kingsport in the chamber very well at the time he's been there. And just had all kinds of creative ideas for youth baseball and has handled that whole thing just wonderfully, all the time he served our citizens and the chamber. So hats off to him and congratulations to Frank Lett as he takes his
Is that it?
That's it.
Thank you, good remarks. Miss Bessie?
I'm going to defer to Tommy about the Dobbins Bennett wrestling team. They went to state and did really well, didn't they, T.O.?
They won the state
Did
title.
they win the state title?
Yes, they did.
Third.
They were third.
Yep. So, proud of them, and also along with shenanigans at Lamplight, I think on Valentine's Day, aren't they having a dinner that you can go to dinner down there and then go watch the play? So if you don't have any place to go to eat on Valentine's Day, you can come to downtown Kingsport to Lamplight. And other than that, I'm good.
That's it?
Angie's being quiet over there.
I know it. She's shaking her head though, so.
She's my favorite performer at Lamplight. Paul?
I want to add my comments to the nice, very appropriate ceremony last week at the police. Thank you for inviting us, including us in that. I was proud of our city and proud of the officers that you have on display there. That actually was very well done. Also, I'm proud that the city of Kingsport, the second time tonight to honor Black History Month. I also remind you that Black History Month is American History Month, so we don't want to lose sight of that as we continue to move forward. Congratulations to the Chamber of Commerce for another successful dinner night. I think everybody was there and had a good time. That's it.
I served at Fort Carson with the 4th Division, and part of the division was the 10th Cav. And the 10th Cav regiment was the original Buffalo Soldiers. A very wonderful heritage they have. Thank you. James?
I only have one thing, because selfishly, I have to drive to Nashville after this meeting, so I'm very thankful for a quick meeting. Visit thisiskingsport.com, and you can get your text message updates on what's going on in the city. I signed up a while back, and every week I get a text message, and it says, "This is Kingsport," and it has the date and the activity and where it's taken place, and it has a little link to get more information. So if you visit thisiskingsport.com, you can put your phone number in, sign up, and I get these text messages every week, and can't ever say there's nothing going on, because it takes up a whole screen, just one text message. So they've got 500 subscribers, and maybe we'll get to 5,000 next week. Sure, with these comments, it'll boom right there. That's it. I'm done.
Well, wait, James, wasn't there a basketball game you wanted to mention?
Oh,
today?
yeah. Miami did beat Duke by 22 last night. So
Was it by 22?
by 22 points. Good night. Good night at the Phillips household. The dog and the child ran upstairs because Daddy was screaming too much.
Those counties.
Yeah. 9 dunks. It's good.
My dogs do that
Any other
too.
statistics you want to put out there? Are you good there?
I think we out-rebounded them, which they had 2 players that were over 7 feet tall, so that's pretty big for us. Yeah, I can go on all night on that game. I was happy.
And you get those in the minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Tommy?
I don't think I have anything.
The bowling team finished second in the state. Yeah, did you know that?
No, I had them third.
The basketball team was third. I mean, not basketball, wrestling was third, and the bowling team was second, and the city manager's lining them up to come visit with us.
Okay,
So that's good.
that's good. I'll get it right when they come visit.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
I think the boys are coming on strong at the right time,
That's it.
you know?
Basketball.
Yeah. Okay, Ms. Vice Mayor?
I think most everything's been touched on, but I do want to, commend the chamber for a wonderful chamber dinner. I think we had several different potential investors and some different things going on in Kingsport that did attend it, and were so impressed with, with that event. And I think Meadowview needs to be commended to be able, for us to be able to have a facility here that can have a sit-down dinner for close to 1,700 people is amazing. And it really was a nice event. And I said, most everything, I do want to recognize Judd. I think the chamber is going to have something for him, but he was here a number of years and really did make a difference in Kingsport, especially with things like the Miracle Field, which was a real project that he led and that will be a benefit to all of our citizens. I really appreciate what he's done.
And all the sports tournaments and activities they brought in
really benefit the community.
One thing he really did believe in was creating your own tournaments instead of always having to go out and bid, because just like everything else, the bid process had gone up so much that by creating your own, and then you have the ownership in it. And, you know, I've served on several different boards with him and learned a lot about tourism and in terms of what brings money to a city, not just what are wonderful events for the children here that want to participate to have locally, but what actually are the events that benefit your city and raise the most money to give back and help support the businesses and the restaurants here.
Yeah.
And I think his looking at how to grow events that would benefit the city and have the most financial impact and be long-term really changed the direction that the CVB was going in Kingsport, and has made a lot of difference. And it's and looking at, like, we are hosting all the swimming tournaments right now, because February was normally a lower time for hotels
Right.
and revenue, and that brought in all the swimmers.
Right.
When you host, you know, boys sports, and when you host girl sports, because which one brings in what amount of money. It was he brought in a different approach, and I think it's really benefited Kingsport, and I'm glad that we've got, you know, Frank is stepping up, who's served under him this whole time, so I really feel good about
Absolutely.
Visit Kingsport.
City manager and I were in a meeting today where Frank read off of several tournaments. I don't have the list in front of me. They're occurring this month. And for our citizens, you know, when people come in from out of town, the young man or woman who's participating in the tournament comes, and possibly their parents and brothers and sisters and boyfriends and girlfriends, and they stay in our hotel and they eat at our restaurants. And this sales tax collection is an important thing. 27% of our budget, sales tax?
Yeah.
About 27%, that's a big deal. So, anything else?
That does.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to go over the whole nonpartisan election again to say, except that I send out an email once a week to citizens that are on an email list that I've compiled. If you want to be on that list, I call it a city update. Just simply call City Hall and ask to be on the mayor's email list. Obviously, you'd give them your email. But I sent out a special email where I talked only about this topic. And even if you're leaning toward this as possibly a good idea, you kind of have to ask yourself, but why won't they let the citizens of Kingsport decide? That's whose hands it should be in to make a decision like this. We have another business meeting 2 weeks from today, and as you can see, all our meetings are public of the BMA. But we also have a meeting we call our strategic planning session. We've been holding once a year on the 24th of February. This is a very important meeting because it just it gives us the chance to sit back and look at things that are going on in the city and what could possibly happen before we get caught up in the busyness of budget season, and we found it very useful. So we've reached the part in our proceedings where citizens can come forward and speak to the board on issue-oriented items. When you come to the podium, please state your name and address and sign the register that is provided. You're encouraged to keep your comments non-personal in nature, and they should be limited to 5 minutes. So these are things that are of public concern. Are there any citizens that wish to come forward? If not, we're adjourned. Have a good evening.
Thank you for joining us tonight for the Kingsport BMA meeting. This program has been a production of the City of Kingsport in cooperation with Milligan Productions, Milligan University, and Charter Communications. For more information, visit kingsporttn.gov.